Hiya guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another modern magazine thing. Because this time I'm going to be looking at Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue 5. Now, I hadn't really planned on covering this issue, because the £9 cover price is only offset by whatever their gift is this week, and I really didn't think it was worth it. However, as I mentioned last week, I had to travel quite a distance to get issue 4, because none of the shops in my local town stock it anymore. And I knew that this shop in another town would have it, and I was kind of halfway there dropping my son off at his work. So I decided to make the journey. I picked it up, and while I was picking up issue 4, they were literally stripping off the shelves as I walked in the door to put issue 5 up. And thinking I'd made the journey and I'd made the effort of time, expense to get it, I might as well pick up issue 5. But really, the gifts are getting very cheap, and the magazine is getting very, very thin these days. So for a £9 cover price, I really don't think it's worth it. Especially if it's going to be getting harder and harder to find. Now, I usually expect these partworks to drop off around about issue 7 or 8, because they want you to place orders directly with them, because then they know exactly how many copies to print. But for it to be dropping off at issue 3, 4, etc. means it probably hasn't sold very well at all, which is kind of sad. I'd like to see role-playing magazines selling, but alas, not this time it seems. But anyway, let's have a look at issue 5.
And so, this is issue 5 of Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer. I'll get rid of the shiny bag so we can see what we've got. Now, once again, they've given us some dice. Now, I do like the coloration of these, whereas the last bag we got were gold dice, which actually were a fairly horrible yellow colour. These are dark brown and red. They come across as quite brown on the camera, but in real life they look a lot more reddish. I like this coloration. These look quite nice dice. Once again, the sides aren't quite adding up on some of them. They are perhaps, as my wife suggested, cheap knockoff dice that they've bought up somewhere. But they're not a bad set. They've got all the numbers on them, they're readable, and they roll well enough. And the magazine itself, because if we're paying £9 for an issue, the dice are perhaps worth £2. So what are we getting for £7 worth of magazine? Well, inside, we've got the 3 pillars. Now, this is a really nice idea. I personally don't agree with it, but the 3 pillars of Dungeons & Dragons, they say, are exploration, social interaction, and combat. Now, I wouldn't put that down for all role-playing games, because exploration, I don't think, is as much. If you're playing something like Cyberpunk, you're not really going to be exploring new places. Although you might be entering a warehouse you've never been in before or something like that. I don't really think it covers the exploration part of it. But social interaction and combat are large elements, and trying to teach people how to do Dungeons & Dragons by introducing these 3 pillars is quite a solid idea. Then we're on to Sage Advice, the passage of time. Well, that's a massive thing in role-playing games, because obviously Dungeons & Dragons is a game where a 30-second combat can take 5 hours, and a 20-day trek can take 30 seconds. So we've got time in combat, explaining about that, and outside your combat, your time is your own. So describing how it can just be described by the dungeon master. You know, things happen instantly, or you can take them out into intricate detail. Got light and darkness. So talking about the effects of it, lighting effects, 3 states, bright light, dim light, and darkness. Got damage, talking through resistances, vulnerabilities, and immunities. A very key part of Dungeons & Dragons as well. And then we're on to the character creation, going through the classes, and this time we're dealing with fighters. So talking through their abilities, that they're well-rounded specialists, why do they fight, how they're dressed, choosing their weapon, and their features. So they don't have spells and things, but they've got various ranged melee weapons, they've got different fighting styles they can use, they've got second wind. And then continuing with locations from around the Forgotten Realms. We've got Neverwinter Wood this time. Fairly nice. A map of Neverwinter Wood, the same one we saw before. They handed out with issue 2, I believe it was. Creatures and encounters, talking about various stuff within Neverwinter Wood. And we're on to lore section on monsters. This time we've got skeletons, how they are obedient servants. They've got habitual behaviours and limited intelligence. Top tip, while most skeletons are animated remains of dead humanoids, the undead can be created from the bones of other creatures, giving rise to a host of terrifying and unique forms. Quite an interesting idea to drop in there. And then we've got the encounter, the small adventure, which is the Crypt of the Elf Lord, which isn't a big quest or anything. We've had one where they were informed about a crypt they wanted to go into in issue 2 and they had to make the journey there. In this one, they just stumble upon it. Last night, Carp was hunting rabbits in the outskirts of Neverwinter Wood when he saw a glowing door. He opened the door and found a cave underneath the tree where 4 elves slept. So we've got a halfling introducing them and telling them about a dungeon nearby. Travel to the crypt, arrival, and then we've got keyed locations. The trapped reliquary, stumbling over that word, sleeping nights, a magic mirror, and Perrin's tomb itself. A very small dungeon, but with a few tricks and twists in it. Got the skeletons, blink dogs within it, and then leaving the crypt. Characters can only escape the crypt if they leave before dawn. At sunrise, the magic doorway disappears for another year, dooming the adventurers to slow death underground. And a magic bow they can pick up. An elven longbow, +1 to attack and damage. It produces its own magic ammunition when you pull back the string. So it's a bit like the one out of the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon, except this creates physical ammunition, which then vanishes the instant after it hits or misses. So, not bad. It's a nice little encounter you can drop in just to have something happening. You know, the players are travelling from A to B and they encounter this halfling who tells them about a tomb nearby they can go and explore. That's quite nice and quite useful. There's some other stuff, basic introductions to Dungeons & Dragons, but there's nothing massively great in here. It's very much based about the beginner. There's no real stuff for more advanced players to get their teeth into, apart from the encounter. And for £9, some cheap dice, and a fairly small encounter, it's only, 6 pages long, isn't really worth it. Anyway, I'm not going to pick up any more issues of this. As I said in the intro, I've started having to trek around the county for where stocks issues, and these things generally tend to stop being stocked after about issue 7 or 8 anyway. So I'd maybe only be able to get a couple more copies unless I did want to subscribe. And to get the entire set and pay out £700, I'm afraid that's way too rich for my blood.
So that was Dungeons & Dragons Adventurer issue 5. It's a very skimpy magazine. It's 30 pages total with, about 6 pages of adventure in it. There's not a lot which interests me. I can understand it being used to beginners, but there's not a whole load of interesting material in there, especially for the massive cover price. I don't think I'll be pursuing this any further, so this will be the end of this short series. But I had a look online because they've stopped even giving you out a card which tells you what's coming in the next issue. So I had to look online, and they're not telling you what the free gift is. So I'm definitely not going to be travelling to different towns to try and search out something which might only be £9 for a 30-page booklet. But the next issue does seem slightly interesting for beginners because it's going to cover levelling up to level 2. So it's taking characters up that stage, which after 5 adventures does seem quite a while before anybody levels. But they do seem to be extending the game. I suppose they've got to make up some content for the full 80-issue magazine run. But this is the end of this series as far as I'm concerned. It's not a magazine I'm interested in at all, especially for the massive price they're asking. But anyway, I think I've blittered on for quite long enough as usual, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.